Travia, the CEO and co-founder of Coinsilium. Thank you very much for your time as always, Eddy. How are things?
Great. Thank you for having me. All good.
It's good to be catching up. So, of course, the company released their finals, their annual results, the end of last week. Of course, this is always backwards looking throughout the course of 2024. But I wonder if we can just perhaps start off, just get your summary of 2024. I think it was mentioned in that press release there. You said it was a watershed year for Bitcoin. But of course, as many investors generally in the markets will know, 2024 was not a great year generally for the markets and equity stocks. But just sum up in your own words what last year was like, do you think, for the company?
Yes, I think for us it was a good year in the sense that numbers are in line with the previous years. And as you said, Bitcoin has done very well throughout 2024. Which is something we normally see on what we call a Bitcoin halving year, and the fact that there is less Bitcoin in the market. But of course, it's also attributable to the changing environment in the US, especially of course towards the end with the new president and the new administration, which have been clearly more pro crypto than before. So that has helped as well the whole sector. So for us, look, we need to keep in mind that for early stage investment, Coinsilium activity is mainly investing, advising, venture building, and so for the early stage investment part, the audit rules are quite strict. So it's difficult to reflect a higher value. Even if significant progress sometimes has been made, but it doesn't necessarily translate into hard numbers because we would need for example, the portfolio company would need a kind of liquidity event or an investment so that we can change the official assessment of the value. So it means that we are probably a bit more optimistic on the potential return that that some of our portfolio companies can make, but it does not necessarily translate in the accounts. So among these portfolio companies with high potential, we can highlight a few of them. We can highlight Greengage, for example, which is an equity investment. Greengage in 2024 was accepted in the Abu Dhabi's Hub 71 accelerator, which is funded by the government, Abu Dhabi government, and Mubadala Investment Company, which is a sovereign investor. And I think that has opened up a lot of opportunities for Greengage. So we are quite positive on that. Also, very good developments for Yellow Network. I mean, throughout 2024, they have been very present. They have been as well developing, and in post period, they have hired two CTOs, and they also get some investments and so forth. So we are also getting close to TGE as time goes by. And hopefully this should occur in this summer. And the third one would be Otomato. So Otomato is this automation protocol for Web3 companies. They are specializing more into DeFi and yield optimization. And the same Otomato is very well developed, and they have opportunities as well. So we are quite positive about these three portfolio companies these days.
Absolutely. So you mentioned there about liquidity events. So I guess the nearer term one would be Yellow Network, which I think is 60 days from mid-May. So yeah, as you say, throughout the summer. So that should be the first big liquidity event for projects you've been working on and been involved in for quite a while. Is that going to be the start of quite a few? We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's a question of timing. We invested in Yellow in 2022, in spring 2022. They needed to work on the development, but at the same time, they probably realized the settings of 22, 23 were not particularly interesting for a TGE. So I guess that's part of the reason why it's coming soon. I think this year is going to be more a more fertile ground for this kind of events like TGEs and raising more for token projects and so forth. So yes, so hopefully we'll see more of that, and hopefully yes, we will get more liquidity events soon. Yeah.
And do you know? I'm guessing you maybe can't comment, but do you know what that could be to Coinsilium, or will we have to wait until those tokens do vest and we can see for real what the issuance is?
Yeah, we don't know the price or anything like that. No, the team hasn't communicated on that. We obviously, being a very early investor, we do hope and we do believe that it should be financially quite interesting for us, but we don't have any visibility at this time. Yeah.
No, okay. Do you know how many tokens you will get, or not at this time either?
Not entirely. There is still there's still a bit of time before they confirm that. Yeah.
Okay, well, we can await that, but we need to talk about the news or the event, the whole idea that's been grabbing the London markets recently. I mean, really quite by storm here. I noticed an article in the Financial Times front page this morning that was just about Bitcoin Treasury companies. We're seeing a lot of that, sort of a big wave of that coming in, and of course, you announced your Forza, which you announced quite a while ago, and we talked about that, which is to buy Bitcoin and be able to report more clearly what you hold in crypto treasury here. First of all, can I just get your thoughts on what's generally happening in this Bitcoin treasury space? We've seen a flurry of crypto companies getting up, but also mining companies as well doing something similar. So it's definitely a trend at the moment. How hot do you think that trend is right now?
Oh, well, if you measure in terms of volumes and investor interest or retail investor interest, it seems pretty hot. we have had quite an increase in the volume of our shares. As you said, we have seen many companies announcing Bitcoin treasury strategies. And as you said, we were working on this a while back. We started announcing and talking about it in January 2025. And then we had the announcement of our strategic advisor, James Van Straten. And we made a few announcements all the way to the first really, let's say, important event for us, which was the first raise for that would contribute to that particular strategy. And so, yes, I would say overall it has been very hot, and we have been quite fortunate that we have been able to raise significant amounts of funding over the last only like 6 weeks. It has been quite amazing, and as well with an increasing share price for the raises and even I think most of the raises will have been oversubscribed. There was a higher interest by maybe 3 or 4 times. So yes, pretty hot.
Yeah, indeed. And I noticed in your annuals you talked about since its launch, Forza has attracted significant institutional interest. So you're seeing a lot of interest from institutions as well, of course, as retail.
Yes. I think both on both sides.
Okay.
Maybe one is leading the other. Maybe the fact that all this funding has come has helped, obviously, has contributed. Hard to say, really. Yeah, but a lot of interest from institutions as well. Yes.
Okay. Good. And just on the overall strategy of Forza, is it simply to acquire Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies and effectively just hold them in treasury as a treasury element, or could you look to utilize that treasury to your advantage in one way or another? And do you plan to continue doing what you're doing, buying more Bitcoin?
Yes, we definitely plan to buy more Bitcoin. We're not considering any other cryptocurrency. It's only Bitcoin. So to give a bit of context, Forza is a wholly owned company of Coinsilium. It's based in Gibraltar. We get some legal advice as well in Gibraltar before we set up Forza. And it's really Forza that owns and manages the Bitcoin treasury strategy of Coinsilium, of the group. So what happened is we kind of seeded it with around 5 Bitcoin in the early days in May. It's not so far. And then we started buying Bitcoin, and we are now up to a total about 58 Bitcoin for these assets under Forza. And we definitely want to keep on buying more Bitcoin. And that's really so at the moment, we're not so much focused on doing anything or producing anything from this Bitcoin. At the moment, we are focused on accumulating, and maybe later, once we reach a critical size, we could look at optimizing the way we buy Bitcoin. But at the moment, it's mainly just buying Bitcoin. Yeah, correct.
Just buying it. And do you have an internal target, or are you just going to do what you can do?
No, we don't.
In terms of like number of Bitcoin, I mean.
Yeah, we don't really want to communicate on targets. I mean, obviously internally, we have just recently published a Bitcoin Treasury policy and strategic plan.
Okay.
So it's on our website. It's very easy to find. That's kind of the framework for what we're doing in regards to Bitcoin. Sure. Personally, I feel that communicating on future purchases is a bit strange in the sense that we obviously, if we wanted to reach a number X of Bitcoin, we would need to have the funds to do so. So we don't think it's maybe that interesting or that relevant to talk about things we are not funding yet. So I think, to be very honest and transparent with the market, the idea is to say we will buy more Bitcoin, which means that we're likely to raise more, and we're likely and from these funds we will buy more Bitcoin, but we don't communicate on a fixed number.
Okay. Well, just finally, Eddy, just going back to where we started here, with a lot of the interest in this space at the moment, a lot of companies starting to do something similar with treasuries. Of course, that's bringing a lot of liquidity to the market, a bit of volatility as well. What would you say differentiates perhaps Coinsilium from perhaps some of the other treasury players out there at the moment?
Okay, I think there are two or three things. The first thing is obviously being the first company to IPO as a blockchain company back in 2015. We have obviously acquired some experience in the sector. I have been advising a lot of organizations on cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, even regulators, central bank staff, and so forth. So we do have an expertise which runs deep, and we believe we definitely have the legitimacy to be in that sector and an active player in that sector. I think the second point is we have what we can call operational resilience, because Bitcoin Treasury is not our only activity. As we were discussing, we have some investments. Now, if these investments do well and we create shareholder value, it is likely that it will help us cover our overheads, our regular expenses, and that will free resources to enable us to basically buy more Bitcoin. So I think that's also interesting. And I would say thirdly, our experience gives us a bit more maybe capacity to view a bit further down the line, because obviously, as you were saying, there are many treasury companies coming up with basically buying usually Bitcoin as well. The difference is we know we know this space, so we know it's not going to stay like that. It's going to evolve, and hopefully we can anticipate a few of the future trends, and we can stay kind of monitoring these trends and make sure that we are a little bit earlier on those trends for the future. Okay. So hopefully, basically, it means we hope, and we have the feel, we are as well probably confident that we can navigate through the different steps and the different challenges that will come. Because obviously, when everybody's just buying Bitcoin, that's not the end game. The end game will be, yes, sure, accumulating as much Bitcoin as you can, but at some point there will be more complex financial engineering coming into play. And we have seen that already in the US with MicroStrategy, called Strategy now. where they go into credit markets and so forth. Now, we're not doing that at the moment, but we will keep an eye on what is happening and how we can anticipate the future trends on that. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, thank you very much, Eddy. Of course, as you mentioned, you have been around since 2015. I've interviewed the company since about 2020, I think, through all the different crypto cycles up and down in different projects. So it's good to see, good to get a sense of where you are now and what you're looking at down the line. So thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully we can catch up maybe when those tokens do vest, that first sort of big liquidity event from Yellow Network. But for now,
Sure.
Thank you very much for your time, Eddy.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.